The Caspian Sea may be 3 time zones and more than 3,000 kilometres away from the heart of Europe, but it's playing a key role in Europe's plans to secure additional energy supplies for the future. Dubbed the Second Persian Gulf, the states bordering the Caspian Sea sit on some of the world's biggest reserves of oil and gas, and they're central to Europe's strategy to find new energy supplies and routes.
On the whole, we believe in the Caspian and in Kazakhstan in particular, the investment climate is favourable for major companies to develop oil resources in. We're not so sure about many other parts of the world.
With Europe's dependency on oil and gas imports set to grow, and many of the biggest reserves found in politically or economically insecure parts of the world, its leaders are increasingly anxious about where future energy supplies will come from. When Russia's dispute with Ukraine over gas hit the headlines in January 2006 and again this year, Europe's anxiety grew. Russia supplies a quarter of Europe's gas needs. So when it cut off supplies transiting Ukraine, hundreds of thousands of Europeans were left without heat in the middle of winter.
This prompted the European Union to look very, very closely at its gas security element of energy security and has basically helped it develop a policy of diversifying by creating new pipelines to bring gas from different areas to Europe as well as from Russia.
In its search for energy security, Europe considers Kazakhstan a reliable partner. Economically stable, this country, the size of Western Europe, has grown rich from its abundant sources of energy. Kazakhstan is also looking westwards. It exports around 1 million barrels of oil a day to Europe. Much of it comes from this giant field, run as a joint venture between Western oil companies and the Kazakh authorities.
Tengiz oil field, I believe it's number 6 in the world. In Kazakhstan, the oil field is one of the largest ones under production, and we account for over 40% of the oil being produced out of Kazakhstan today.
When this pipeline that runs through southern Russia doubles capacity in 2012, even more oil will reach the world market. But it's this field, Kashagan, lying beneath the Caspian Sea, that will play a central role in ensuring European oil security, as 3 European companies, Shell, Total and Eni, are involved in exploring what's the biggest oil discovery in 40 years.
We expect to produce up to 1.5 million barrels per day, which will represent, let's say, at the end of the next decade, will represent about 10% of the oil demand of Europe.
It's a giant oil field. The onshore processing plant, due to be operational at the end of 2012, is the size of Greater London. What's more, unlike oil from the Tengiz field that flows by pipeline through Russia, most of the oil from Kashagan will go by tanker and pipeline directly to European and international markets. So much oil will flow westwards that a new port is going to be built on the Caspian, and an existing port is being expanded to cope with the extra demand. Gas security, though, is more complicated, as gas is usually transported in long-distance pipelines through one or more countries. And Kazakhstan, a major gas producer, is keeping its options open on export routes.
Kazakhstan is actively looking for alternative routes for exporting its gas, and that's why it's cooperating with Russia, China, Azerbaijan, and is even prepared to work with Iran in order to ensure profitable returns on its various export routes. And that's all in the economic interests of Kazakhstan.
Striking a gas pipeline deal is a major undertaking, involving long-term planning, significant investment and agreements between all of the transit countries.
The Kazakhs are not publicly terribly interested in exporting gas to the West right now. So if the European Union wants to get a large volume of gas from Kazakhstan, it's going to have to put in quite a lot of effort in order to encourage the Kazakhs, with European assistance, to make the necessary investments both in gas infrastructure and in upstream gas production.
In order to secure the additional gas it needs, Europe is looking first and foremost to Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan for future supplies. Its leaders are also working hard on developing gas transport routes that will provide more security of supply. One key route, due to come on stream within 5 years, is the Nabucco gas pipeline. This will stretch from Turkey to Austria, offering additional gas supplies from other sources. Europe is looking to the shores of the Caspian for its future energy needs. Determined in this world of competing demand for oil and gas to stake a claim for the long term.